Okay guys, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh and a very good afternoon. Okay, today continue. We will continue on the documentation of crime scene, part 2. Again, I want to put the disclaimer. Most of the slides are prepared by Dr. Najib Afad Mahat. I just try improve the slide by including or incorporating a few kind of animations or just the addition of the information only. Alright, let's begin. Okay, photography. Here is the one who take the picture of photography. Looks, he wears a very proper PPE and taking at the eye level. But he need to be very careful with the evidence behind him. Okay, as long he know that there is an evidence behind that, it's okay. Okay, let's go for the introduction of photography. The primary photography is the primary means of crime scene documentation, which is still photography. Still photography is the normal photography. Okay, if we take a video, then it's not a still photography. Still photography is for photography. It's not videography. That's why we call it as the still photography. And still photography also is mean that we want to take everything at its original condition. That's why it's also named as the still photography. Police officers should have an understanding of the importance of keeping the scene preserved and not moving anything until it is photographed. More rightly, term is documented. But in photography, nothing can be done, nothing can be do on the evidence until at least the evidence has been photographed. Okay, including preserving the sample. So you need to photograph unless you have the dire situation. Suddenly you have the snow coming in or there is a heavy rain. Yes, until then it's okay to move the evidence first. But until there is no dire situation like that, we must avoid not to move anything until it is photographed. Okay, so basically you need to take a photograph, take the notes of the evidence, and then after that you can only collect and packaging your evidence. The photographer must be able to testify the photograph is a true and accurate representation of the scene at the time of photograph was taken. Okay, the photographer must be able to testify that the photograph you take is true and accurate of the scene and time photograph was taken. So as the photographer, your credibility will be tested out in court. So they will ask you either, is it the true condition of the crime scene? Is it the true condition of the evidence? Is it something has tempered the evidence? So you must be able to testify that photograph is true and accurate representation, including you must be able to uh, remember the figure, remember the name of the figure. Okay, you must remember what kind of evidence in the figure. You must be able to note it down. That is the true thing on the crime scene that you work on that day, or you work over on that day, on that particular day of you doing the photography crime scene investigation. Okay, so you must be able to tell that the photograph is true and accurate. So photography is another vital part of crime scene documentation. It is the second of the three key elements of the documentation. We already learned about three key of documentation. The first one is note taking. The second one is photography. And the third one is sketching. They are all complemented each other. Okay. Sometimes the question can ask you, describe photography and what is disadvantages or what is advantageous. Okay, you need to be able to describe what is photography. Photography, for example, is still image. The photograph must be able to specify that the photograph is true and accurate, okay, and belong to the crime scene, particular crime scene. Okay, so the photography also is a part of the important documentation, which is two other thing is notes and sketching. So it depends on how you be able to understand what is photography. So don't memorize. So you need to understand what is photography. I believe if the question is please describe photography, what is important, let's say for example, as long you be able to understand what is photography, I think you'll be able to understand or you'll be able to answer the question. Crime scene photography should be a slow and methodical process to ensure that the scene is properly documented through photography. It is okay actually to uh, to to perform photography in a slow manner, but it must be methodical as well. Don't slow but sloppy, but slow and methodical. If you can do fast and methodical, that is okay. But if you cannot, you need to take it slowly, but make sure it's methodical. It must be methodical, not you have taken the picture of the evidence, but you forgot, oh, I still not taking the picture of the crime scene, overall crime scene. You cannot do that. It must have the flow. First, the photograph of the overall crime scene, then photograph of the inside of the crime scene, and then you photograph the evidence. You must have the flow, not just, oh, I forgot to take, or maybe you took the pictures of evidence 13, then suddenly, oh, I forgot to take the picture of evidence 1, so I need to take the evidence 1. If that situation or that condition being realized by the for example by the defense lawyer, so your credibility will be asked during the crime scene, during the trial. So you need to avoid that. So you need to do a very good methodical process of photography. So you need to avoid the messy process. Okay. The end result of a photograph of properly photographed crime scene should be a properly recorded and illustrated crime scene. So your photograph should be properly record and be able to illustrate the crime scene. So the photograph must be able to illustrate the crime scene, must be properly recorded, not blurred, not shaky, and it must illustrated a true crime scene, not just taking any pictures suddenly, oh, that is part of crime scene. Don't do that. So you need to have a very good photography techniques, including the exposure. Don't take the pictures too dark, don't too exposed or too bright. So you need to have a very good skills in photography. So if you don't have a very good skill of photography, for example, you forgot to adjust the exposure, but when represented in court, the picture is too dark. So in the eye of the defense or in the eye of the judge, they can suggest that, oh, is it night actually at the crime scene, but maybe the actual condition is daylight, it's not at night. So that's why you need to have very good photography. The photograph must be properly recorded and must be able to illustrate the crime scene. Okay. Okay. The next one, we will learn about the importance of photography. There are three importance of photography. The first one, it documents what you saw. Okay. It can provide a true and accurate record of the crime scene and the physical evidence present. So it documents what we saw. It provide a true and accurate record. Okay. So this can become a double-edged sword. Okay, that's why you need to really know what you're actually doing at the crime scene. Okay, so if, for example, you as the CSI team leader, but if the photography is different compared to what you have testified in court, that will be a problem to you. So you need to align, for example, from your note taking, from your sketching and your testify testimony in court with the photograph, because the photograph is the only thing that can bring the picture information at the court. Okay, you tak boleh goreng lah. In Malay, you cannot lie. Okay. And the second importance of photography is it can furnish the information. Not just only it can provide a true and accurate record, but it can illustrating the events of the incident. For example, that's why in the photography you can have two kind of photography technique. Either it is overlapping or processing. In kind of the processing technique or kind of overlapping, you can illustrate the events of the incident. Okay, for example, you take from the outside. Okay, and then when you come close to the door of the house, you can see a trail of soil, and then you can see the movement. Maybe the criminal goes to the kitchen, and then you can see the trail over there. So perhaps the criminal took a knife from the kitchen, and then it moved to the mother room, and then he goes to the daughter room, maybe. So that is the kind of the illustration of the events can be provided through photograph. And then no matter how well an investigator can verbally describe a crime scene, photograph can tell the same story accurately and effortlessly as it frees time and records the evidences. So how well you'll be able to describe, for example, you say green, okay, but of course green, we have so many greens. We say a car, so we have a lot of car. We said sofa, so we have a lot kind of sofa. We have said furniture, so we have a lot kind of furniture, but it can never reach the picture of the imagination. So the right picture of imagination through a photograph, it can provide that very accurate, very effortlessly the pictures of the crime scene or crime scene condition or the evidence. So the third importance of the photography, it act as the corroborates witness. So it will support whatever testimony given by the witness or given by the expert witness during the trial. So forensic photography is actually integral part of the trial, and the judgment often is based upon crime scene photograph to prove prima facie evidence. Is it to prove the evidence is a fact being used for the crime, okay, or the evidence is contributor in the crime happen. Okay, so this is the importance of the photography. So I think it's actually kind of very common question, what is the importance of photograph? Or maybe if I would like to make it harder, I give you this situation, give you the problem, describe what is the problem, what is the importance. So that is the kind of the question that can be adjusted, okay, from the low level. So please state the important. So you just state, please describe. So you just state and describe, or you discuss. Okay, if you discuss, you need to discuss in detail what is kind of the situation is requires the importance of photography. Okay, the next one we will learn on what is the responsibilities of forensic photographer. So photograph the surrounding crime scene and exhibit as instructor. So the most important responsibility of the forensic photographer to photograph the surrounding the crime scene and exhibits as instructor. Okay, as instructed, it means you need to have the instruction from the CSI team leader. If you don't have the specific instruction, you need to ask if your procedure to proceed with the crime scene photography is okay or not. At least you need to ask that. And then you need to record all your documentation in photolog, including the undeveloped ones. Okay, when you're doing your reports, not all the pictures you will put in the reports, but you need to provide all the details, all the documentations in your photolog. Okay, The general information you need in your photo log, you need to have the general information, okay, including the case number, okay, to 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 make sure that the photo log you provided is specific for that particular date, for particular case, the date and time of the photography, the location of the photography, photographer's name, including your signature, model camera, and the serial number of the camera. So it will be very specific to the serial number of the camera. Okay, and then you need to have the photo information for each photo took you took during the crimes you take during the crimes investigation. You need to supply with the information, including the time, photo number, the description, and also if you have the comments. All right, and also you need to provide the negative or CD, okay, for your photo log. And then you need to keep your negative or CD properly, not just put on the table. You need to keep this as the important evidence in the strong room, or maybe you have your own locker. And then as the photographer, you need to testify in court. Okay. Okay, here is the example of the crime scene photography log. Not example, it's just the layout of the crime scene photography log, including the case number, camera use, the film type. Normally, nowadays we use the digital photography techniques. The photographers, okay, if you only one, so you need to have your name and signature, date and time of the crime scene, location, and pages. For example, you are required 2 pages to complete the photography log. So, for example, here is the page 1, the next page is page 2. So, the time, the pictures must have time and date, photo number, the description and comments. Maybe we can look, okay, for a while. Okay, where is it? Okay, so here have the date and also the time. So you need to have this one, this thing, okay, the date and also time. So for this example here, it's not very good actually. Okay, we will look into that later on. What is the problem actually? Okay. Okay, let's look back at the photography log. So you have the time, okay, and the photo number. The photo number is like the photo file, the DSC0278. Okay, so you need to put that as well. DSC02, sorry. That is the photo number. The description, okay, the description of the evidence. Maybe I can show you an example. Okay, where is the photography log? I'm sorry, where is it? It should be right there. Okay, here is the photo number, the description of the photo exhibits. Okay, if you have to comment, you need to put in the comment over there. Okay, see how many pages of how many pages? It's a lot, right? Okay. Okay. Okay, in photography, you need to photograph the scene completely to include, okay, few things. The first important thing is the exterior photography, including the surrounding area or neighborhood. This is the purpose to establish the location of the crime scene. So you need to have this one. Okay, so you need to have the points of entry or exits, the doors, windows, rooms, or basement. Okay, including the entry of the house, okay, entry of the rooms. You need to have the points of entry. Must be included or must be overlapping during the photography. The next important thing, the interior photography. For example, in case in the situation when the crime scene is happened at the closed area, so you need to have the interior photography. Okay, and the most important thing here is the evidence photography. So you need to have the evidence photography. The body, if you have the body, strange items that you are be able to notify, or anything that can attract your attention during the CSI. So you need to take photograph at eye level. Okay. Okay. What is mean by eye level? It mean that you need to use 35 mm lens. That is the best one, during the CSI. If you want to take the micro, that is during the lab analysis, but not at the crime scene. The crime scene, you only need to take at the eye level. So 35 mm lens is the best. Don't use wide lens. Don't use the especially the fish eye. So it will provide the a very much distortion at the image. So you need to take a photograph at eye level. Okay, let's look at the first one, the exterior photography. The exterior photography start all crime scene documentation with the orientation photograph of the crime scene. So you need to start the documentation of photography of the crime scene with the orientation of the crime scene, which means that the long kind of photography to establish the location of the crime scene. So don't make a mistake. Sometimes the student, they forget about to take the exterior photography. They just directly go to the evidence, but suddenly they after finish collect the evidence, then they took the overall photography. So when we look back at the photograph during the exterior photography, the number of the file of photograph is also different. It's also not it's not methodological. Okay, so that's why you need to start with the exterior photography. After that, then you proceed with the interior photography, and then you start to photograph the evidence. So you need to start all the crime scene documentation with the orientation photograph of the crime scene. Okay, I think I repeat this several times because it's very important. Students always do mistakes during their crime scene investigation. I hope I will not do this mistake. Okay, this will help they establish the exact location of the crime scene. So the importance of the exterior photography to establish the exact location of the crime scene. So you need to show the street signs, building number, or other landmarks, and the photo must be overlap each other. They cannot stand alone. They cannot stand alone. Suddenly you took a picture of McD and then you took a picture of KFC. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. For example, the McD is from one street, and then you have the in the middle you have the traffic, and then you have the other the right is the KFC. So you need to have all three overlap with each other. Okay. So here is the exterior photography. So here is the long range, the location of the house. Okay, and then it's zoom in a little bit. It's not zoom in. It's not zoom in. It just go near to the crime scene. So if you can see here, we can see clearly. Okay, but we cannot see very clear of the detail of the house. Okay, from inside here we can see the fence. Okay, and we can see the motorcycle. So when you have the pictures of the fence, okay, you can see can show the pattern. So you can take a picture of the house number. So it's actually overlap. Okay, so from the house number we can take so it must be included the entry of the house, which is the door, but it's not clear. Okay, it's okay. And then that's why he took another picture of the gates, so it's overlap with this. So from here you can get a clear view of the right exterior, the exterior of the house, or the veranda of the house. So it can show you the entry of the house. And then he zooms again. If you look over here, it can show the grill in detail and also the door. Okay, and then he open and he can see inside. Okay, from the inside, when the door is open, it can show you the carpet. So its overlap is methodological. And also when he have the next move, the next photograph, it can show the relationship between the carpet and also the next location, which is the table. Okay, and then it's already become the interior photography. Okay, now it become interior photography. See. So when it become interior photography, is need to overlap with the what we call the entry point. For example, from here, okay, you come inside, you see this one, okay, and then you take the picture of sofa. Here is the one near to the door, the entry point, okay, and then he moved towards the crime scene. Okay, he took the picture of the table, and then maybe here is the crime scene, so the table is what we call overlap with the location of the crime scene. Okay, and then maybe the crime scene happen over there, so we go specific interior photography into that room. Okay, so it needs to be overlap with each other. Okay. It needs to be overlap with each other, so it can provide the detail of the crime scene. Okay, it must be interconnected. Okay. Okay, the next one we will learn about the interior photography. In the interior photography, photograph each room utilizing one of the following methods. We can utilize four corners method, center or circle, or slide. Okay, it depends on what conditions of the crime scene. Large rooms require more photograph. Closet should be open and photographed. Okay, and overlap. Okay, so here is the kind of the techniques of interior photography. So you can have the slide technique methods. It is most useful when the interior of the crime scene is large, so you can use slide. Okay, so you take this one, 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 this one. Depends on the size of the interior of the crime scene. Okay, depends the size of the crime scene. For example, if one picture can cover this size, so you need to take 3. If your pictures only one already, you can have the overall picture, so you need to only take 1. If it requires 2, so you only take 1, 2. If you require 5 to complete overlap the room, so you need to take 5. Okay, it's not that the arrow you need to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, depends on the size of the room. Just enough to overlap each other, then it's okay. Okay, for example, here is the 4 corner style, so it is more suitable when your victims or the most important evidence located at the center, so you can do this. So from the corner you take side, the middle side, and the right angle side. If the size of the room is bigger, so you can increase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, depends on the size of the room of the crime scene or the crime scene. So the next one is the center or circle. Okay, you can take the picture from the center, okay, or you may combine, okay, from the corner and from the center. Okay, it is more stable. It is more stable when the main evidence is not located at the center. As long the main evidence is not located at the center, you can proceed. Okay, this is the example. So you have from one corner to other corner to other corner and to the other corner. Okay, but right now it's just only one picture, right? Because it's not that large actually. But you can improvise that by one corner you can take the right angle to the left, a little bit to the right, a little bit to the right again, and then to the right angle. So you have this one, this one, this one, this one. Okay, if this is the corner of the room, so you took this one picture, you take this one, you take this one, and you take this picture to complete a corner. To play safe, you can do that. At per corner you can take 3 to 4 pictures depending on the size of the room. If the size of the room is large, you can take more, but don't too much. Don't take too much, okay, because as long we just have the enough information, that is enough. If you take too much, they will ask you why you take too much. because you say that, or you don't confident. If you say that you don't confident, that will be a trouble to you. Okay, we have learned about the uh, exterior photography. We already learned about the interior photography. Now we will learn about the evidence photography. Okay, in overall the principle of the photography including this thing. Okay, but for the photography usually we focus on this thing because the first one is already covered during the uh, exterior and interior photography. But for example, if you have not covered during the exterior or the interior photography, you need to include this thing. Okay, so the four basic shots required is the orientation or entry image. These are overall photograph or long range entire tree. Okay. Closer than overall shots show relationships between items. So it is medium range. So the medium range photo shows relationship between items. For example, you focus at the door. After the door have some evidence. So you need to use that door as the relationship with the location of the evidence. So then you need to move into the close up for the identification. So the first picture of the close up without the scale. So we want to take the picture without the scale because we want to show that we don't tamper with the evidence, or we actually don't actually tamper with the evidence. And then the fourth picture is for the quality examination. For the quality examination, we need to provide the scale to the judge or the defense or the prosecutor. So we need to put the scale over there. Okay. So four kind of pictures: long, medium, close up close up without scale, and close up with scales. So there is four basic shots for every evidence photography. Again, if your is already covered during the long entry, you can just proceed to the medium and also the close up. Okay, so you don't need to repeat for every photograph, for every evidence you need to take the um, long entry again. Okay, or the long range of the evidence shot again. Okay, if you already covered during the your exterior or interior, then it should be okay. Okay, here is the figure, but something is wrong. Okay, I put some emoji over here, but something is wrong. Okay, here, but the basic is there. We have long. Okay, it shows the door. Okay, and the evidence over here. Okay, then he move a close little bit, so it's a medium one, and then he come closer, and then take ED closer, close up photography. But something is wrong. What is it? Okay, I give you guys 30 seconds. 1, 2, blah blah blah. Okay, next thing. What is the problem actually? Okay, 30 seconds is up. Okay, the first thing, the first mistake is there is no label. There's no label for the evidence. Okay, you cannot just put the scale over there as the label. So you need to put the label. Okay, and then the next one, you need to take a picture without scale. Okay, because you want to show that the scale is not actually overlapping with your evidence. And then after that only you can take the picture with scale. Alright. So okay, here is one of the most accurate thing. So you have the label, okay, and then you have the mid range, and then you can put the arrow as the sign, but make sure that the arrow is not overlap with your evidence. And then you need to have the close up, and then the close up you need to have the scale. So you have four pictures. Okay, but if you already have the long range fingerprints, you can proceed with this thing. Okay, and then oh, where is something is missing here. Okay, after you already take a picture of everything, okay, don't forget to take a picture of overall exhibits. So you need to take the picture for overall exhibits at the crime scene. Okay. So as the summary of the photography, you need to photograph the outside to establish the location. You need to photograph the inside. You need to photograph each room or compartment. If the wardrobe is closed, you need to take the picture of the wardrobe closed. Then you need to open the wardrobe and then you take a picture again. Okay. Same goes if your crime scene is in the vehicle. So you need to take a picture as it is. If the bonnet is closed, you need to take a picture of the bonnet first. Then you need to open the bonnet and then you uh, uh, take the picture again. Okay. I'm not sure if the bonnet is the right words in English or not, but we can replace the word with trunk, the trunk of the vehicle. If the trunk of the vehicle is closed, then you can open the vehicle. After you take the original condition of the trunk, and then you can open the trunk to take a picture again. And then you need to photograph the evidence. Once you identify your evidence, you can photograph your medium views to show the relationships with the long range. Okay. Finally, close-up views with and without scales. Okay. This is the checklist of the photography. But you need to add something here. For example, if you as the checklist, you need to add, uh, for example, take the picture of the entry and exit point. Take the picture of the overall exhibit is still not included here. So you need to uh, make a checklist for a photograph. Okay, I think that's it for photography. If you have any kind of the information, you may ask in the group WhatsApp so we can share the information with everybody. The next one we will go into the sketching or sketches. Okay, the next part we will learn about the crime scene sketch. Okay, here is the example of crime scene sketch, but I think it's still not really complete. Okay, because you don't have the distance of the wall. Okay, as the victim here, we have the knife and we have the nose. Okay, all right. What else? Okay, he used the triangular methods. He used the triangular methods to measure the distance. Okay, what is sketches? A sketch is a handmade pictorial representation of conditions at a crime scene. So a sketches, what you sketch, handmade. So pictorial representation. Rarely is the camera lens of sufficient width to capture the entire room in a single photograph. So camera lens is not sufficient to capture the entire room sufficiently. Rarely, unless the room is not that big. Unless the room is very small, then should be sufficient. But in the most of the crime scene, there is not enough a picture that can show the entire room. Therefore, multiple photographs are required to adequately photograph the rooms or rooms. Okay. A sketch, on the other hand, can be easily drawn to depict the entire area of scenes. Okay. So that's why in the photograph, we need to take the multiple photograph to show the entire crime scene. By using a sketch, we can show the entire crime scene using a sketch. Okay, photograph and sketch should complement each other. Why is it? I think I already discussed in the introduction of the ECSI, where photograph cannot establish exactly the distance, okay, of the evidence. Okay, but using the sketch, we can put exactly we can put the distance of the evidence, and we can show the exact distance between evidence to evidence or evidence to victim. Okay, that is why we need sketches. So why we do need sketch? It it can aid clarifying investigative data. It can explain the relative position, appearance, and condition of the things which may be material to the issue. So you can give the relative position. Okay, show the possible path of entry, exits, and the movement through the scene. For example, uh, the trail of the blood or the trail of the footprints. Okay, that is the kind you can show. In the photograph, you need to take the picture. You need to overlap several pictures to look where is the entry, where is the exit. But in the sketch, we can show you exactly where is the location of the exit, where is the location of the exit, or where is the movement actually. Sketch also can demonstrate the feasibility of a witness testimony. So it can help to demonstrate the feasibility or is it true or not the witness testimony. Okay. Okay, there are two types of sketches. Okay, the first one is rough and the second one is the final sketches. Okay, the rough sketches is the one that we made on the crime scene. Okay, the one we made at the crime scene. We need to finish the sketches at the crime scene. That is the rough one. The final sketches is when you have you get your rough sketches and then you bring to your lab, okay, and then you make a final sketch using a software. That is the final sketch. Okay, so okay, we have actually the activity during face to face, but we cannot do it now. But I give you a few seconds or few times to what is the difference information can be provided, photography versus sketch. Okay, what is the difference in information provided, photography and also sketch? I think I already described in the introduction before this. So let's take about 30 seconds. So we can try to guess what is the difference in the information provided by photography and also sketches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, just think one also okay. Don't think too much. Just get an idea. So, okay. Sketch, supplement photo, photograph provide great detail, okay, but does not always shows the true and accurate relationships, especially the photograph cannot determine the distance unless you have a scale over there that can be photographed. But let's say for example the distance between the evidence and evidence A and evidence B is too large, so it will be hard for us to find the appropriate scale. That's why we cannot do photograph to determine the distance. Okay. For the sketch, it can eliminate unnecessary details. Okay, for especially if the room is messier. So the not important one we can just exclude it in our sketches. Okay, for example, in a room you have computer, desktop, crime scene, CD, everything. Okay, that's the thing that is really not important for the crime scene. So you can just exclude it during the sketch. It can show true and accurate relationship between it's mean the distance or the trail. Okay, exactly. In the photograph, you don't know exactly where is north, where is west. Okay, you cannot establish exactly. But in the sketch, you can show that where is north, where is west, where is the trail move towards to. So you can show that at the sketches. Okay, there are several steps in sketching the crime scene. The first one, observe the scene and plan the sketch. So you need to observe the scene and you need to have in your head how to plan the sketch. Okay. And then you need to measure the distance. The distance, for example, of the crime scene, okay, or the distance of the evidence. Okay. Outline the area. Outline the area dimension. Locate and label draw objects and evidence within the sketch. Locate and label draw objects and evidence within the sketch. The most important evidence and the most every evidence that you locates. So you locate and label or draw objects that related to the crime scene or related to the crime, and then you draw or you put the label of the evidence, and then you record all the details. Depict legend, title, scale, and direction of north. So you need to depict the legend. For example, you put A for evidence, knife. B is for blood. C is for what we call tissue, or what we call a pair, or footprint. So you need to put the legend, and then you need to have the title, the scale. Okay, the scale is mean that the distance of the evidence and the direction of north. Okay, maybe we should look here. Okay, all right. In this figure, okay, here is the direction of north. Here is the distance of, or the size of the crime scene. So here is the dimension. Okay, so if each of it here, for example, I'm sorry, it's not that clear. For example, here is evidence F, so it measure the distance. So it's using the triangular method. Okay, so you need to put the major one, the one that big, so you can put. The unnecessary thing you will not put. For example, the carpet, so it's not really important, so you will not put in the sketches. Okay, what else? The direction of north, see, even it's not that great, but it's still there. Even it's not that beautiful, but it's still there. It's actually a kind of very good sketch. Okay, even though it's not that beautiful, but it is feasible. Okay, what else? Let's look at the rough sketches. Rough sketches is the rudimentary first sketch created at the crime scene with care for accuracy in depicting dimensions and locations. Okay, so the rough sketch is the first sketch created at the crime scene. Okay, with accuracy in depicting dimensions and location, but no concern for aesthetic appearance. So the rough sketch is very important for accuracy of dimensions and location, but the beauty is not that important. As long it can be understood by the others, that is very excellent enough. Okay, it shows all recovered items of physical evidence as well as other important features of the crime scene. So the main important things of the sketches is to have the location of the physical evidence and other important features of the crime scene, including the positioning of the crime scene. Okay, that's why if you look at the this thing, okay, we have the couch, even though it's not really, it has evidence. Okay, we have the fireplace, even though it doesn't has the evidence over here, but it can establish uh, the position during the photography. So it must has the important features. For example, here the furnace. What else? The desk. Okay, the chair. Okay, the one that big one. Like the one that's very smaller thing. For example, the floor mat. Okay, it's not really important. Okay, unless we have the evidence on it, so it will become important. So you need to keep the important features. Don't get really messy. Don't make it messy. Sorry, my alarm. So that's it for these sketches, rough sketch. So most important to depicting dimensions and location, but no concern for aesthetic appearance. It shows the recovery of the physical evidence as well as the other important features of the crime scene. Okay. So here is the following tools are required to create the sketch, as has been mentioned during the introduction to crime scene investigation. So you need to have the checklist. So you need to have all this: the drawing paper, measuring tapes. You need to have at least 2 measuring tapes. If one not working, so you have other one to working for. So even though you have the digital one, so you need to bring the manual one. Okay, in case the digital one is not working. Clipboard or drawing surface. If you don't bring your clipboard or drawing surface, you will not be able to draw properly. Don't just have the book over there. You need to have the drawing board. Okay. Pencils, of course, not just a pencil, but you need to have pencils. A lot. 2 or 3. In case one is not working, so you have the others 2. Okay. You need to have the straight edge ruler. Okay. At least it's not that pretty. If you can draw a straight line, then it's okay. For example, here is a little bit okay. But if you not be able to draw in a straight line, better you have a ruler. You need to have the erasers, compass or GPS. So it is really required because you need to determine which is north. For example, in the situation where you need to use certain kind of distance measuring technique, so you have the compass. For optional tools: drawing protectors, architect scales, French curve, drafting triangles, etc. and etc. Okay, for example, here is the back, so where you put everything. So you have the drawing board, you have the what we call a drawing paper, you have the triangular, you have the ruler, you have this thing. Okay, it's not that really important. It's not compulsory, but it will be usable over there. Okay, you need to bring pencils. Okay, here is the measuring tape, compass. Okay, here is the what we call the ruler, architect scales. So you can make a draw. But for me, it's okay for you just to draw a legend. For example, you can put symbol A for evidence. What for example, knife. That's kind of example. You don't need to draw everything precisely. Again, in the rough sketch, it's just important for depict the measure and the distance. Sorry, not measure, to the distance and location, but it's not for aesthetic appearance. Okay, if you look, it's very nice. Okay, it has the distance, the total area, and inside the room it has the smaller rooms and the bathroom maybe, so it gives the distance for each thing. And here also is labeled the A, B, C, D, E for the what we call the evidence. So it labels for every evidence, he measure the distance. For example, in evidence F here, 4 feet 5 inch, 8 feet 1 inch. It's not really clear, just a screenshot, right? So what else? Okay, here the eye level label. Okay, it's not really important, but it can be included. Okay, see, can provide a very good distance. Okay, so here is the north, here is the detail, the case, the location. Okay, what is the victim, assist by investigator, who is one prepare, who one is the one assist you doing the sketch. Okay, that's it for this. It's not that's it. We will continue to the other slide. So for the rough sketch, all sketches must include the following features: case number, agency number, the name and title of the artist, location of the scene, date and time which sketch was created. It may also stated the victim's name, names of any suspect, or the type of crime. Okay, it will help you to for your testimony in court as the sketcher. Okay, what is the essential info? The date, report number, preparer, evidence, the general information, okay, of the case. And then the key indicate the note, the signature of you, reference point, okay, all measurements. Okay, so this is very important info. While creating the sketch, define the boundaries of the sketch. So you need to define the boundary of the sketch. Where it start, where is it end, will end. Okay, This may be walls for an indoor sketch. If it's the crime scene is indoor, so it be okay. So you just use the walls as the boundary. But if it's outdoor, so you need to uh, use the cordon area as the boundaries. Make sure that the area within these boundaries includes all the pertinent objects and evidence. Make sure that the 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 boundaries must be as included all the pertinent object and evidence. Not you just draw, but suddenly your evidence is outside of the boundaries. It should not be like that. For example, here is the boundaries. Okay, but suddenly you have the evidence over here. It's not that. Okay, so it must be included. So you need to, for example, if for here is the indoor, right? For the outdoor, for example, here is the boundary of the outdoor. For example, outside of the corner, you say, oh, here is the evidence B. So it will not be okay. So you will be damned for sure in the testimony. Okay. Establish known points from which to measure the locations of the objects and evidence. These points should be fixed. Okay. So you need to establish known points from which to measure the location of objects and evidence. Of course, we want to measure the evidence, so we need to have the fixed points. In case of the crime scene, indoor crime scene, so you can just use the wall as the fixed point. Okay, but let's say at the outdoors, you cannot have a wall, so you need to have something that not easily removed. Okay, it's not easily removed. For example, trees, telephone poles, street signs, or natural features such as boulders that is not easily removed by the criminal. Okay, of course, the trees can be removed, but it's not that easy. Okay, same goes to the telephone poles or street signs that can be used as the fixed point of the crime scene. Okay, I just want to remind, this is one of the most important thing as the police officer during the crime scene investigation. When you come to the crime scene, when you want to make a cordon, make sure you tie your cordon. Make sure you tie your cordon at the fixed point. Okay, so you can prove that at the court that the crime scene, the cordon is properly be done. So you use the fixed point to cordon your crime scene. If you just use let's say for example a chair as the fixed point, no, it should not be done. Okay, you will be in deep trouble if you do that. So you cannot put your motorcycle over there and then tie your cordon in at your motorcycle. It cannot be do like this. You need to find a fixed point. Okay. What else? What else? The walls or boundaries should be drawn first, leaving as much room as possible for the contents. If walls are used, their dimensions should be recorded. Okay. Okay. If while doing the sketch, just draw as big as possible, because we don't establish the aesthetic appearance. We will establish the distance and the location. Okay. In the rough sketch also, we not scale the sketch. We not scale the sketch. So it doesn't matter is 1 cm for 1 meter. It doesn't matter if 1 cm for 10 meter. It don't that it is not that important. The most important thing that we can use the distance measuring techniques in applying into the sketch. So it's not really precisely that 1 centimeter is 1 meter. So it's not to scale in rough sketch. Measurement should be taken from the fixed point to pieces of evidence first. There are few methods of measurement for sketching the technique. So measurement should be taken from the fixed point. Okay, if indoor, you can use wall as the fixed point. But if you don't have the indoor, if the location of the crime scene is outdoor, so you need to find a proper fixed point. Okay. We will learn on that. So here is the sketch measurement method. We have 5, okay, but the most utilized one is this 4. The cross projection method is in case the evidence located on the wall or on the ceiling. And usually the cross projection method we combine with the baseline or triangular methods. Okay. Okay, so what kind of question can be asked? Okay, for example, please describe 2 sketch measurement methods, who knows? Or maybe please state 3 sketch measurement methods, so you'll be able to state. Or please discuss. Discuss is quite impossible because one kind of techniques will take a long time. Maybe we'll give you a case. Okay, for example, outdoor. So you need to choose a sketch measurement method suitable for that. Please discuss in detail. So that is the kind of the question can be asked. Okay. Okay, let's look on the first measurement method. The first measurement method is triangulation. Triangulation method measures the distance of the two objects from two fixed points of known distance from each other. So we have the x and y as the fixed point. Okay. Here, Okay. This methods form a triangle between two fixed point and evidence. So you have the fixed point x and y. For example, you have the evidence A. So from the evidence A, you draw a line to y. From A, you draw a line to the second point. So you find the distance between A to y and A to x. Let's say you have the B, okay, you also find the same thing. From B to y, B to x. So B, you need to find from two fixed points. The first point and also the second fixed point. For example, here B to y and B to x. Of course, you need to measure the distance between x and y as well. In an indoor scene, these points are usually the corners of a room. Okay, if also used for outdoor by using two non-movable objects as fixed point. For example, pole, corner of the building. Okay, that is the kind of the fixed point you can use. Okay, if you look over here, it shows the victim location. Okay, by have the different distance, but it's not really imported into detail. So it's kind of the example it can be used. For example, from store, from tree, from fire hydrant, from US mail. Okay. Okay, the next measurement method is the baseline method. The baseline method is especially useful for outdoor scenes. Okay. In case of the crime scene is too big and you don't have a wall, so you can use the baseline method. First, two fixed objects on opposite sides of the scene are located. Okay. A and B. We have you have the two fixed point A and 3. A and B, so A and C, but A and 3 pula dah. Each of the object evidence has a line drawn from it to the baseline to make a 90-degree angle with the baseline. Okay. So we have the one that perpendicular. So from the object, you need to draw to the baseline with 90-degree angle, and then you measure the distance. Okay. So you need to measure the distance between here. So you need to have to measure distance between AB, A and this, okay, this and this, this and this, and this and this. Okay, you need to measure the things. Okay. The distance of the line from the object to the baseline is then measured along with its point of intersection with the baseline. Okay. So you need to measure the distance. I already mentioned, right? So here is the sketch, but it's not a rough sketch. It's the final sketch. Okay, but it's still not to scale. So it is, for example, if you want to use the indoor, so you can just draw the perpendicularly, and then you measure at 90 degree, get the distance, 3 meter, 1 meter, for example. So we can have a very clear picture of the location of the evidence. Okay, the next one is the azimuth with wheel method. Okay, and azimuth is the angle clockwise from nose to the item of the evidence. Okay, so azimuth is like we put a compass in the center of the field, and then we take a from 0 to 360 degree. So where's my pen? For example, this is the crime scene. Okay, you have your azimuth wheel here or your compass. So you make it as the center, and then it will go 360 degree. Okay, so measure the distance from this fixed point you made by using the azimuth wheel. Okay, the azimuth has 0 to 360 degrees. An object is measured by the angle in degrees that depicts the distance from 0 points to the item of the evidence. Okay, for example, here is north. Okay, so north become 0 degree. Okay, for example, location here, location of evidence is A here. So we need to determine how many degree. For example, 25 degree. Okay, and then the distance, for example, 5 meter. Okay, 5 meter, 35 degree from north. Okay, so place the wheel in the center of the evidence field. Point the 0 to north. Okay, as already described. Mark exact location of the wheel with triangular of GPS. Okay, this is the example when the location of the crime scene is too large, or not too large, or maybe the crime scene is not that big, just small, but happen at the open area. So you can mark the exact location of the wheel with triangulation. Maybe it's not that really great if happen at the outdoor. If the indoor is okay, but you can use the GPS, the location of the what we call the azimuth wheel method. Okay, here is the azimuth wheel method. Okay, you have the north over here, start from 0 to 360 degree. So the item 1, okay, 41 degree. What the distance in feet? In Malaysia, we normally use meter, so use meter. For item number 2, ni pusing, you just circling clockwise 267. So it will become the degrees of the second item, and you need to measure the distance. So this is the azimuth wheel method. Okay, the next one is the rectangular coordinate, a sketching method that involves measuring the distance of an object from two fixed lines at right angle to each other. Is often used to locate an object in a room. Okay, for the rectangular coordinate, it is more stable if you have two fixed lines. For example, you have this line and this line. Okay, the line must be fixed. If you don't have a fixed line, you cannot use this rectangular coordinates. You can use at the outdoor. If let's say, for example, okay, here is the building, you can use this. Okay, for example, you want to use this line and this line, you can use this one, in case you can find that building. Okay, or if you want to use at the outside also can. For example, you have the fixed point A, B and C. So maybe here is the boulder, or maybe here is the corner of the building. Maybe here is the pole of the light. So you can make a line here, so it will become a fixed line. Okay. Later I delete. Okay. What else? So if we look over here, the first example here is he used the triangular method. So he actually utilized this line. Okay, this as the line. Maybe because it is indoor, so he can use 4 fixed lines. Okay, so you find A. For example, you have the evidence A, and then you measure the distance from the first line, and then you measure from the second line. And from the B, you use this line to measure the first distance, and use this line to measure the second distance. Okay. Okay, I think the baseline rectangular coordinate is very easy to be applied if the room is big and there is not a lot of evidence. Okay, but if you have a lot kind of evidence, very messy, then it will be it will be somehow kind of messy also in your sketches. The baseline method is not that messy if you think about it. The triangulation method is a little bit of messy, but it's more precise. In the baseline, it's not that precise. Okay. For me, I prefer the triangulation method or the baseline method. Okay, this is the one that I prefer the most, if you ask me lah. Okay. The last sketches method is the cross projection method. Cross projection method, a sketching method in which ceiling appears to open up like a lid of the hinge board, with the four walls opening outward. So it's like a hinge board we can open. So we open, become complete. Measurements are indicated from a point on the floor to the wall. Okay, measurements are indicated from a point on the floor to the wall. Okay. Suitable if it is indoor. And of course, if it is outdoor, we don't have a ceiling to have the evidence for, right? So if we have the evidence over here on the wall, so you need to use the cross projection method. Okay. Cross projection method is useful if evidence located on wall or ceiling. Okay, such as the blood, bullet hole, or cartridge. Okay, for example, we give you a case of situation where the blood splatters on the wall, the bullet on the hole, on the ceiling. So you need to do a sketch. So you need to suggest sketch. So you need to use the cross projection method plus the, for example, triangulation method or baseline method. Okay, so it cannot stand alone. Okay, for example, here is the wall A, B, C, D. Okay, A is the victim, B is the bullet hole, C is the gun, D is the, where is D? Where is D? D is the cartridge. So it has one evidence in the wall. Okay. While creating a sketch, distance shown on the sketch must be accurate and not the result of a guess or estimate. For this reason, all measurements should be made with a tape measure and confirmed by two people. That's why when doing the sketching, you cannot do it alone. Somebody must must help you to handle the tape measure. The simplest way to label the location of an item in a sketch is to assign it a number or letter. Okay, you don't need to draw. You just need put a number or letter. A legend will then correlate the number or letter to the item description and dimension. Like in this figure, 1 is what, 2 is what, 3 is what. Okay. While creating a sketch, symbols for object should be consistent. Okay, for example, you use A, so from the beginning until the end, you use A, B, C, D, E, F, G. For example, you use number, so you use number from the beginning until the end. Typically, items of evidence are assigned numbers, possibly correlating to their evidence marker number. So, you need to use, if possible, use the same number to draw the evidence with the number for the evidence label. Okay, again, the one you label in the sketch should be, it's not compulsory, but it's more preferable, should be the same with the evidence marker number. For example, evidence or evidence label. For example, you label with the evidence is A, so you can put inside your sketch is A as well. It is very important that units of measure are kept the same throughout the sketch. So if you use meter, don't use alternately with a feet, for example. Usually inch and feet are used in the United States because those measurements are easily understood by the investigation personnel and the jury. I believe in Malaysia, the most common one is meter and centimeter. Okay, here is the example. we have the north direction, we have the information here, the location, round why, who, approve, okay, the detail, okay, and then the distance, the size of the crime scene, okay, including the opening of the door, no opening, sorry, the distance of the in inch of the door, the width, okay, so it has the one only evidence, the A. See how many it is. One or so enough, I think. Don't need to have all of this. So you can, but you cannot use local as the fixed point. It's not that really accurate actually. So the base one you can use is using this one. You cannot use local. It's not that good actually. Even though the drawing is good, but it's not that great because he used the movable thing. Unless the local is screwed into the wall, then it's okay. But the desk is not. It's not okay. It's not okay because we cannot use the desk as the fixed point to measure the distance. So something is wrong. Even though it's beautiful, but it's wrong. Okay, we have done on the rough sketch. I hope you get the idea. So the next one we'll move into the final sketch. Okay, let's look into the final part of the sketches, which is the final sketches. Okay, final sketches is constructed based on the rough sketch. Okay, so the perfected final sketch that is constructed with care and concern for aesthetic appearance and drawn to scale. So for the final sketch, we must pay a concern on the aesthetic appearance, and our drawing must be drawn to scale. Okay. Uh, so compared to the rough sketch. Okay, we don't concern on the aesthetic appearance, but for the final sketch, we must do the sketch neatly. So it can provide a better or a clear picture to the defense lawyer or judge. Okay, so if we compare to the rough sketch, okay, in the rough sketch we never drawn to scale. In the rough sketch, it is more important to know the location of the evidence and the distance. But in the final sketch, we must put the scale, drawn to scale. Okay, for example, if we look again in this rough sketch, it doesn't include the scale, or it's already mentioned here, not drawn to scale. But if in the final sketch, okay, the scale of the figure is included. So it means that every three 3 inch to 3 inch, sorry, 3 inch 8 centimeter, maybe, I'm not sure, 3 to 8 inch, so equal to 1 foot. Maybe in the normal practice, because I'm not really familiar with inch measurement, maybe 2 cm equal to 1 meter, maybe 1 cm equal to 1 meter. So we need to mention the scale we use. For example, the ones every cm here is 1 meter. So we need to draw to scale for the final sketch. What else? Okay. When the finished sketch is completed, it must reflect the information contained within the rough sketch to be admissible evidence in courtroom. So the finished sketch or the final sketch must reflect whatever information in the rough sketch. Okay. If the information provided in the final sketch is more than the rough sketch, so it will not be admissible. Or if the final sketch information is less compared to the rough sketch we provided before this, so it will not be admissible. So it cannot be accepted as the evidence in a courtroom. A final sketch can be done by an investigator or by the investigator or a hired professional, or it can be done by hand, in pen, or by computer. So the final sketch is not necessarily done by the sketches at the crime scene. Okay, it can be done by hiring a professional. Okay, so it can be done by pen or by computer. Okay. So the next one we will learn about the CAD or computer aided drafting, CAD, or usually nowadays I think you guys already familiar about the name of AutoCAD. I'm not really sure about that because I have not I don't have the experience to use that AutoCAD. So the process of CAD, computer aided drafting, has become the standard method for reconstructing crime scene from rough sketch. So nowadays, usually we use computer to make the final sketch. Okay. The software, ranging from simple low-cost programs to complex, expensive one, contains pre-drawn objects such as intersections, roadways, building, rooms, onto which information can be added. So instead of we just draw a box or draw a rectangle and then we say this is sofa. So instead of that, we can have the actual pre-drawn objects of that sofa to put in the room. Okay, in our crime scene sketch. A generous symbol library provides a variety of images can be used to add intricate details such as blood splatters to a crime scene sketch. So not only uh, the object, but the library today can involve the type of blood spatters can also be included in the final sketch. And the best about uh, uh, the the CAD or computer aided drafting for the final sketch, it can be equipped with a zoom function. So computerized sketching program can enlarge a specific area for more detailed picture. Other than that, of course, from the CAD also, we can provide a three-dimensional pictures of the crime scene. And the other thing is the sketches may also be able to show bullet trajectories in scenes where a gun was involved. So we can provide more information during the final sketch. But again, in the final sketch, it must consistent with the rough sketch that has been made on the crime scene. Okay. CAD programs allow users to select a scale size so that the final product can produce in size suitable for courtroom presentation. So we can actually put a large resolution to our sketch so it can be presented very well in the courtroom. 3D CAD sketches can also be created. These sketches show the nature of the crime scene from many angles. This can be helpful in crime reconstruction and in the trial setting. So in the 3D CAD, it can be more helpful in crime reconstruction and in the trial setting. So instead of 2D in the courtroom, so it can be more representable in 3-dimensional. Okay. Some can also animated to show how the event suggested in the reconstruction would lead to the final state of the scene. So we can also, other than the 3D CAD, so we can also make the animated CAD or animated sketch. So it can suggest how the events occur. So we will look into that after this. So it's the one of the computer aided drafting program. Okay. I think it's the one of the simplest one. So the 2D, see here you can put the car. Maybe here we can just put bed, but in final sketch we can actually put the picture of the bed. Same goes to the stairs. Okay, so it can be very specific. Okay, for example, here is the rough sketch. So it not drawn to scale. But if it's actually drawn to scale, you can see it's a little bit different in size, but you need to mention the scale in the final sketch. So it must be included. So when you submit for a report, you need to include these two, the rough sketch and also the final sketch. Okay. In the final sketch, you need to have the key information of the case. Okay, already mentioned in the rough sketch as well. You need to have the north direction, dimension of the crime scene. Okay, dimension of the crime scene, main object in the crime scene, at least 3 pieces of evidence labeled with number, a legend describing each other, okay, here, measurement locating each evidence, okay, a scale of drawing, okay. So actually you just make your rough sketch become more nicer. So if you look here, it become better, okay. So here is the example of the 3D, okay. Here is 2D, here is 3D, okay. So in the CAD, in the computer aided drafting, we can also zoom in, okay, but now I'm not be able to do that, okay. Alright, so if you see here, so it can zoom better. Where is it? Alamak, hilang. Okay, for example, oh sorry, I get confused. Where is up or down? Okay, so it can zoom into the victim. Okay, can zoom into the victim. Okay, so we can look on the different angle. Okay, even though the object is not really accurate of the actual object in the crime scene, but it can be representative object. Okay. Here is the example of the animated sketch. So it can suggest how the crime happened. So the victim, the pattern of the blood stain. Okay. So the today's technology is so advanced. Okay. So it can shows you where is the shell casing, the possible positioning of the criminal or perpetrator, including the entrance wound on the victim. Okay. Okay. That's it for the documentation of the crime scene. So let's now try to answer a little bit of question. Give a thumbs up if you agree with the statement. Give a thumbs down if you disagree with this statement. Okay. So wait to give a thumbs up or thumbs down until I say. Okay. Until I say. So I will provide you some of the question. If you agree, you put a thumbs up. If you don't agree, you put a thumbs down. Okay. So the first question, a crime scene must be sketched carefully since you will never have the chance to sketch the scene again. So you have on, is it true that you have only one chance to sketch a scene again? Okay. 1, 2, 3. Yes, it is true. After you release the crime scene, it has been released to the public, everything can be moved by the public accidentally or be tampered, so you actually don't have the chance to sketch the original crime scene. So you need to sketch carefully. The next question, when making measurement to pieces of evidence, you can measure from two objects like a TV and a bookshelf. So you want to make a measurement of evidence, but you want to use the object like TV and bookshelf. Is it okay? Okay. 1, 2, 3. So it is a thumbs down, which is not okay. Okay. Why is it? Because the object that is movable is not suitable for the as the fixed point of the measurement, because it can be moved. So you need to use the fixed point that is not easily movable. For example, the walls or the pole or some things that will not be easily movable. Okay, including even if the largest thing like a trailer is also not suitable to become a fixed point because it can be movable. You cannot use the airplane as the fixed point to measure objects. So you need to use a fixed point. Okay. When a labeling objects in the crime scene, you label the evidence and other item in the room with a letter or number. So if you want to label the evidence in the room, okay, or the other side, you can use the letter or number. Is it true or not? Okay, it is true. The next question, the sketch made in the field will stay as is, no changes, modification, reproduction or final sketches will be made. Okay. So are you agree or not? Your sketch in the field must be retained as it is. No changes, no modification, no reproduction, including the final sketch. It must reflect totally based on the rough sketch. Is it true or not? It is true. If not, your final sketch or your sketch, if something you add later on, it will not be admissible in the courtroom. And the one, here is the last one or not? When sketching indoors and windows for the outline, it is important to include all of them, even they are away from where of the most evidence is located. Okay, when sketching indoors and windows for the outline, it is important to include all of them, even they are away from, yeah, because they are one of the important features that are not easily movable. Okay, what we have learned so far in the part 2, we already learned about the importance of photography and sketching. Okay, photographer responsibilities, photography techniques. We also have learned about the rough sketches. We already learned about the type of measurement methods. And also, we already learned about the final sketch and the computer aided sketch or CAD, computer aided drafting. Okay. So thank you. That's it so far. So if you have any kind of question, you can always ask in the group WhatsApp so we can share the information with everybody. If anything I said is wrong, please argue in that WhatsApp group as well so we can share the information with everybody again. So that's it. I think see you soon in the next chapter.